Today, we will talk about Goods and Services Tax, GST. The Goods and Services Tax is a value-added tax, VAT, levied on most goods and services sold for domestic consumption. Consumers pay the GST, but it is remitted to the government by the businesses selling the goods and services. Critics argue that the GST can disproportionately burden lower and middle-income individuals, contributing to income inequality and social and economic disparities. Some countries have introduced GST exemptions or reduced rates on essential goods and services to address these concerns. The GST is an indirect federal sales tax applied to certain goods and services. Businesses add the GST to the price of a product, and customers buying the product pay the sales price inclusive of the GST, which is then collected and forwarded to the government. Most countries with a GST have a single unified system with a single tax rate applied throughout the country. Only a few countries, such as Canada and Brazil, have a dual GST system where the federal GST is applied in addition to the state sales tax. Recently, some Canadian provinces have combined the federal and provincial sales taxes into a single tax known as the harmonized sales tax. Critics argue that GST is a regressive tax since it takes a relatively larger percentage of income from lower-income households compared to higher-income households. Because lower-income households spend more of their income on consumables, GST can disproportionately burden them. Some countries are discussing adjustments to make the tax more progressive by taking a larger percentage from higher-income earners. India established a dual GST structure in 2017 to eliminate double taxation. Since its implementation, India has used the GST system to reduce inflation and lower the total taxes paid, which benefit both businesses and consumers. The Goods and Services Tax is a VAT added to the purchase of goods or services, and it should not be confused with the Generation Skipping Transfer Tax, GST, which is a federal tax on inheritance transfer to a beneficiary who is at least 37.5 years younger than the donor. In general, consumers or buyers of goods and services pay the Goods and Services Tax. Certain products may be exempt from GST, depending on the jurisdiction. The Goods and Services Tax is calculated by multiplying the price of a good or service by the GST tax rate. For example, if the GST is 5%, a $1 candy bar would cost $1.05. The GST simplifies taxation and reduces tax avoidance. It also streamlines several different taxes into one system, giving governments an easier way to collect taxes and reducing corruption. Value-added tax and Goods and Services Tax, GST, are similar taxes levied on the sale of goods and services. Both are indirect taxes collected by businesses and passed on to the government as part of the price of the goods or services. The Goods and Services Tax is a type of tax levied on most goods and services sold for domestic consumption. It is paid by consumers and remitted to the government by the businesses selling the goods and services. Some countries have introduced GST exemptions or reduced GST rates on essential goods and services or have implemented GST credits or rebates to help offset the impact of GST on lower-income households. The GST is often a single-rate tax applied throughout a country and is preferred by governments because it simplifies the taxation system and reduces tax avoidance. In dual GST systems, such as those in Canada and Brazil, the federal GST is applied in addition to a state sales tax. The GST has been identified by critics as regressive and can potentially place a relatively higher burden on lower-income households. Here are 5 key takeaways. 1. The Goods and Services Tax, GST, is a tax on goods and services sold domestically for consumption. 2. The tax is included in the final price and paid by consumers at point of sale and passed to the government by the seller. 3. The GST is usually taxed as a single rate across a nation. 4. Governments prefer GST as it simplifies the taxation system and reduces tax avoidance. 5. Critics of GST say it burdens lower-income earners more than higher-income earners. Hope this would help. Thanks for watching.